Okay, I'm live. And as per usual, going to give a little bit of time for you fine folks to start streaming in here. And of course, rely on my promotion of the channel because I can't rely on YouTube or most of the big social media platforms these days. Still trying to suppress my voice. So I don't know. You'd think at some point in time they'd realize that it's just not going to work out the way they planned. Anyways, let me just check. I notice there's already a couple folks in the stream here. Let me just see what the folks are saying here. What's going on, David? Nice to see you in the chat. God himself has something to say about messing with these young ones. I'd hate to be the one who does. I agree with you there. And we got Linny Owl. I agree with Blue Eyes on Rumble that it could be the mark of the beast. It changes our DNA. See stuff like that. I mean, right? It's great to have an opinion regarding that stuff. And once again, I'm not one to you know throw throw insults towards anyone for whatever reason you believe. Some of these things exist. To me, the most important thing when you're talking about these things is it really comes down to at the end of the day is just freedom of choice, freedom of autonomy of your body. That whole thing, and that's the part that I find so strange these days. Who would be any more boisterous and publicly open about advocating for my body, my choice than those on the left? A lot of the people who are now seemingly having an about face and saying, no body of my choice, no such thing as my body, my choice. Apparently now, well, that's the that's the subjective part of this, right? Is people really do believe in autonomy and sovereignty and my body, my choice for a specific selfish reason, right? That's the thing I like to point out. People like myself, we're the ones that are labeled as selfish, I guess, right? People who care about their freedoms and liberties. I don't know how that works out, but apparently the programming is so well entrenched in some people's mind that if you're advocating for freedom, they suggest you're selfish. Well, let me flip that around entirely and suggest that I think it's quite selfish that you want the rest of society to bend and conform and yield their freedoms and liberties to so-called protect you. That, my friend, sounds a whole lot like a lot of selfishness, right? Not too much benevolence there. Where's the self-sacrifice in that? Right? It's not much, right? Like I say, hypocrites. Like I say, when you deal with people who are unprincipled, who lack principles, who their thought process and their opinions are so subjective and just sway like a really frail branch in a really hardcore hurricane or wind. Like I say, how can you trust people that show on a regular basis they lack any principles whatsoever? That they'll just go along with whatever they deem is important to them, right? And yet it's always talking about the collective or the community or the group or we're all in this together. Well, apparently not. I sure as heck have not felt that we were all in this together since basically day one, I would suggest. No, it has been the same thing that I've watched and long before COVID come around, but a constant daily reminder that there are some people in society, namely those of us who care about our personal freedoms and autonomy and liberty, have always been labeled as the bad people. Or there's all kinds of connotations and insults and derogatory statements they use to describe those of us who care for liberty. But you always got to ask yourself, what kind of person targets people who care about the freedom and label them as terrible people? Well, probably not the greatest people themselves, I would suggest. But anyways, let me get to this part before I even get into this thing about, because yeah, as you're probably well aware of at this particular point in time, is Health Canada has approved the vaccine for kids 5 to 11. For kids 5 to 11. Now, I will just point out, as I add this to the stream, that in Canada, Statistics Canada, their own Canada, the Canadian government's own website, official website, they don't actually include statistics for 5 to 11-year-olds. They actually go from 0, so just being born, to 19 years old. So that encompasses and includes teenagers, people 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and of course ones as low as newborns. But even with all of those extra years included in the numbers, all of those numbers. Now, once again, what would it be if you took out 5 and under and 12 and older to 12 to 19, right? What if you took out all those years, excluded those years? Would the number skew even lower? I would suggest yes, right? But even including all of those numbers, and I hope you folks can see, let me just double check here and make sure you folks can see. And of course, this will be in the link of the description, linked in the description of the stream. Like I say, this is the Government of Canada's own website. So I'm using their own sources, folks. But if you look at it and the chart here, so it's figure 7, age and gender, distribution of COVID-19 cases. Now, I chose, you can pick ICUs, hospitalizations, or deceased. I chose deceased, right? Because that's what we're all worried about here at the end of the day, right? Is excess deaths or any deaths as it pertains to COVID-19. And of course, we not even taken into account, once again, I mean, we know if we actually dug right down into these numbers, you would probably find even discrepancies as did they actually die from COVID-19, or was COVID-19 a potential contributing factor, or they just happen to have the COVID-19 when they get shot. I mean, and we know, I joke in a way, but not really, because we know this is an actual reality, right? That a lot of deaths, with COVID-19 listed as the reason or a contributing factor, right? There were lots of other things involved, right? So once again, that's a reality. But back to the basics here. For 0 to 19-year-olds, once again, including not just 5 to 11s, but even teenagers. And I mean, think about it. From the time you're a teenager all the way up to 19, yeah, you want to talk about people who are not risk averse at all, right? People who take a lot of chances. So those are the people that you would think the numbers would skew higher with those included. But nope. Even with those teenagers who take such risk, right? The ones that are constantly having the experts, the health experts, and the political and ruling class, the elites among us, constantly finger wagging at these young people. Just get your vaccine, kids, right? Anyways, so there it is, folks. It's right there. 0.1%. So in other words, what this says, what this tells you and I and anyone who actually reads these facts, right? According to Canada's Statistics Canada's very own website, is you have a 99.9% chance of surviving a COVID-19 infection if you're 19 or under. 99.9. Now tell us, just like I said, just tell anyone, take COVID out of the equation and insert whatever you want and say you have a 99.9% chance of surviving. You would find a lot of even older people, right, that are risk adverse themselves, that might not be quite so risk adverse when they're actually, are you really taking much of a risk, right, when it's a 99.9% survival rate? Granted, admittedly, yes, there is a risk. There's a 0.1% chance. So it's a risk. But think of all the other things that people do in their daily lives, right? Not even the risky stuff, like I say, that teenagers tend to do, right? But even adults and children, like, think about the things we do that come with potential risks to our lives, to our health, to our physical well-being. Just think about it. Just try it as an experiment someday. Just go through all your daily actions and figure out how many of them are what actions do you take on a regular basis that places your life at risk. I mean, crossing the road, right? Even at a stop or a crosswalk. Sure enough, you can find deaths that happen even at a crosswalk, right? Of people getting run over. Once again, folks, we're humans. Living life, right, comes with risk. Comes with lots of rewards as well. That's the part that these naysayers, these doomsayers, seem to forget. Risk versus reward, folks. Why are we not hearing the conversation talk about how much more rewarding life is when you're actually free? Right? That's kind of a big deal, right? Or at least to you and I, those of us who actually care about our freedoms and our liberties, or at least are willing to speak openly about it, because you gotta think at least some of these pro-vaxxers, I mean, they must have like some bit of freedom, right? I mean, it seems like they're very willing to sacrifice or give up on some of their liberties. But I mean, I'm sure you could dig down far enough into their psyche, and there'll be somewhere in there that says, "Yes, I want some freedom," right? So, but like I say, here it is, folks. Here it is. You got a 99.9% chance of surviving COVID-19 if you're 19 and under, and probably an even higher chance of surviving if you're between 5 to 11. So what is up with this constant now? And you're going to see it get worse and worse as the days go by. Like the rhetoric is going to be ramped up, folks. You know that. They've already set it up prior, but it's going to get ramped up. Make no mistake about it. That you just have to get these kids vaccinated, right? But for what? Now, you will hear some of them, the proponents of mandating or vaccinating large swaths of our kids. And they'll have a little slip of tongue or some actual truth come out. In reality, what it is they want to vaccinate kids under the auspices or the pretense to protect them. So once again, I don't know. Sure, as a kid, you don't need that. And sure, as a kid, having a vaccine comes with potential risk and hazards of its own. And that these are all documented already, folks. They're already well documented, blood clots and whatever, some of those other negative reactions that folks are having. And in particular, younger folks, right? But even with that, you have a bunch of full-on adults out there who, rather than relying on their own personal responsibility and their own protection from these vaccines, apparently they don't trust the vaccines quite as much as they pretend to put forth, because now they're requiring, demanding, and cheering on having a bunch of healthy kids be vaccinated. For what? Once again, not going to help the kids out, really, is it? Nope. And in reality, probably not going to help out the adults that are scared of their own shadow either, but they're more than willing to sacrifice other people's lives or their autonomy or their sovereignty for some false sense of security. It's one thing to give up and sacrifice your own. It's quite another to be willing to sacrifice, young children's sovereignty, autonomy, and choices for some, once again, false sense of protection or security, which we know is not a reality. And the whole thing with the breakdown between the vaccinated and the non-vaccinated, I mean, the truth is coming out. Now, the rhetoric, the propaganda, it seems to overwhelm the actual facts, because we know the facts are that even people who are fully vaccinated can contract the virus and can spread it. And once again, just to reiterate that and show a little bit of proof to back up my claim, let me bring up another, what's this one? Nova Scotia. This is just one that I had on hand, but I've shared a few of them in the past as well. But let me just share this one, right? So this is a particular example out of Nova Scotia, reported by CBC News, right? And here it is. The head of the Canadian Centre for Vaccinology says breakthrough COVID-19 cases in Nova Scotia are expected, but more importantly, the smaller number of cases shows just how effective COVID-19 vaccines are. Every Friday, the province released a breakdown that details whether new cases in the past week were among fully vaccinated, partially vaccinated, or unvaccinated individuals. In the latest reporting period, the 110 cases between October 28th and November 3rd broke out as follows. So, 34 fully vaccinated individuals, right? Somehow these almost 31%, so basically almost a third of the population who contacted COVID or were identified as new cases of COVID were in the fully vaccinated, double vaxxed. right? Double dosed up. And yet almost a full third of them came in. Now, if you add the 7 who were partially vaccinated, that's another 6%, right? So you're basically looking at 36, 37, 37%. So in excess of a third of the new cases are coming from those who are fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated. So what's up with that? Why punish? Why are the 69 unvaccinated, the 62% based on, once again, this is just a snapshot here, folks, but there's a snapshot. But why is it that these 69 people who are unvaccinated, who don't have their cards, their passports, are restricted heavily in what they're allowed to do out in public, out in general society, right? When in reality, once again, yeah, you can stop them from going to the restaurants or the bars or, attending their church services or all the things that they're trying to mandate and restrict people from doing. But those 34 and the 7, so the 43 of the fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated, they're allowed to go out and do whatever they want. But yet the cases continue to rise. Well, it sure as heck isn't because these 69 other people are out there, wreaking havoc in the public, because they're not allowed, right? They're restricted. They're confined to their homes or outdoor spaces, right? So, and we know that the case count isn't rising from outdoor cases. No, it's all indoor settings. So who's really spreading the virus around? Because we know, like I say, the fully vaccinated can get it, and we know they can spread it. And they're the ones that are out and around in public and showing off their vaccine passports after they go on Facebook and show a picture of it, right? Or a picture of them getting vaccinated. So who's really spreading things around? Once again, just me offering up, some possible hypothesis, some possible suggestions that maybe, just maybe, the vaxxed, the holier than thou, can be just as much of a threat, or at least a threat. And isn't that what matters? The threat? So apparently not. Apparently the threats don't matter as long as you kiss the ring and bow and conform to your health experts, right? Anyway, so like I say, I'll make sure to share this, obviously, in the description of the stream as well. But there it is, folks. Like I say, there it is. Now let's get back to this chart that I had here. And before I do, actually, I'm going to check and see who's all in the chat, I guess. See what's going on with the fine folks here that come to frequent my live streams. And once again, I really appreciate you folks that do. Really, really do. It's great to have fellow people who are so concerned with their personal liberties and autonomy and freedom. Like, I'm just so thankful to know that there are fine folks like yourself out there in this country. Anyway, so let me just check out what you folks are saying in the chat and who's all joined me. Hey now, David. Hey now. I have a higher risk of driving. Yeah, I have a higher risk of driving, not to mention being an electrician. Well, there you go, David. If you're an electrician, yeah. Wow, yeah, 120 volts, 240 volts, high voltage transmission lines. I mean, dangerous stuff, right? Dangerous stuff. Perhaps we should all become so risk adverse that we don't work in these fields anymore, right? I know in my field, in currently in paving, the asphalt business, there's you're around a lot of dangerous heavy equipment, a lot of moving parts that could tear you up, shred you into pieces. Heck, the asphalt alone, pretty hot stuff. Can burn yourself quite severely. Perhaps we should no longer build any roads until all the robots can do it for us, because it comes with potential risk, right? And we know that. We all know this. Of course, I joke, of course, folks. But this is the kind of mindset, it's the kind of craziness that these pro-mandate proponents, that's basically the kind of mindset they have. Anyways, I see somebody as generously, hey, Fraser McBurney, what a fine gentleman you are. Always there to help me out. And I really appreciate your donations. I really, really do. And I'm actually going to start, as you can see, I got the Powered by StreamYards up there, which means I'm not currently paying for the service. But now that I should hopefully have more time off and time to do these things more regularly, I'm going to get back into paying for that service. And I might even get to the point I'm really contemplating setting up paying for live streaming over on Rumble and trying it out, see what it's like over there on Rumble, because I know there's a lot of great people who have moved over Rumble, and I love to be over there with them. So maybe in due time. Anyways, let's see what Fraser McBurney has to say. You can't sue government or drug company. Who can you sue for all the deaths? Exactly. Can you sue personally? Maybe the people who push the mRNA, like Trudeau and Ford, Tory et al. Someone is responsible. Exactly. I listen, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. But that's the thing is these systems are set up just like a corporation, right? They all sound good in theory, but in practice, this is the problem you run into. There's no accountability. That's the thing when people say, "Oh, we need big government or we need these, you know, regulations." Well, once you give certain people in society the power and the so-called authority to dictate, control, and be the ones that set the rules, well, you can rest assured that there's a really good chance they're going to set up the rules that just miraculously or coincidentally gets them or lets them off the hook for any responsibility themselves. This is something as old as time. And really in 2021, more and more Canadians or more and more people should finally come to learn and realize this stuff. But once again, a lot of people, a lot of our fellow citizens are willing to forego common sense or decency or just critical thinking for the sake of aligning with their tribe or their group, right? And that's the sad part. Now, me personally, I actually had to go against people, that historically you would suggest, well, you two should have so much in common, which of course a lot of times I do. But if someone is promoting or advocating for something unethical or immoral or that goes against personal responsibility or liberties, even if you're a really close friend, sorry, I got to speak up. I got to speak out. And I'm not just doing it in defense of my liberties, but I want to help out that person as well because, like I say, liberty is not just something that affects me or that I should be concerned with. It's something that really affects them and they should be concerned with as well. So you do have to have the ability and the capacity and the willingness to speak out, regardless of who the person is, right? Even if you got to rock the boat, even if you got to get them mad at you for a quick second. Now, I would suggest to try to handle it in a very diplomatic manner because once again, at the end of the day, what we don't want to piss people off. We don't want to one up. We don't want to win the argument, so to speak. What we want is for people to have, personal responsibility and individual liberty as core values in their life, which they should be. I'm with you. I agree. Leave them kids alone. Leave them kids alone. I mean, except for the ones, once again, let me just put out the not necessarily a disclaimer, but an addition. What's the word? Can't even think of that word. Addendum? No, I don't know, whatever. Let me just add a little something to this, though. Is there are no doubt some kids who could really, really benefit from a vaccine, right? I believe that's possible. I can't reject that one. Again, I am definitely not against science in any way, shape, or form. So I'm sure there are cases or incidents where some kids may very well be helped by having a vaccine, right? But there's a big difference between helping those who require or need it and want it, than using a massive propaganda campaign and basically, not the carrot so much, but the stick approach, right? In terms of trying to get everybody on side with vaccinate their kids. When, as we can see, based on those numbers, once again, 99.9% of those kids are going to be all right. They're going to be A-okay. So what's the point? What's the purpose, right? That would be my question. I wish that some of these pro-vaccine, these proponents of the mandates and such, I wish I could get at least one of them. I've been trying, folks. I've been trying to get at least one of them to come and have a conversation with me. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. At least Tim Moen, I did watch Tim Moen, the Liberty Experts. If you haven't subscribed to Tim Moen and the Liberty Expert channel, I definitely highly recommend it. And he was having a conversation with a fellow, someone in the firefighting industry that does support mandates. And at least the man, one thing I got to say, at least the man, I credit the man for at least having the audacity and the courage to go on and have that conversation with Tim. Now, once again, There were definitely disagreements there, but that's how we work these things out, folks, is having conversations. And the pro-vaccine folks seem to be the ones that are wanting to sit on the sidelines the most. I'm seeing plenty of people who are hesitant or not pro-vaccine, maybe questioning of some of these things, who are willing to have engage in dialogue and discussions. Whereas, the people on the other side of the aisle are like, no, you do what I say, or you do what you're told, and don't come talk to me about it. Just do it, right? It's like, I don't know. Don't really trust people like myself. But anyways, let's see. Rainy Steps, thank you as well for the kind, generous donation. What? You don't like Big Bird? Big Bird. I kind of missed that one. Rainy Steps. Where did I miss out on the Big Bird? I must have skipped by some. Skipped by some, did I? I'm really sorry about that. But the Big Bird from Sesame Street, there's got to be something to it. Right over my head. I am so sorry. Right over my head. I know it's terrible. Sorry about that. Oh, Street sold out too. Oh, geez. Are you serious? See, now that I wasn't aware of. Actually, I've been working ridiculously hard and long hours. And I got to admit, folks, I have been keeping up to date with as many things as some of you folks probably are. I'm going to do much better and try try to be in the know when it comes to this stuff. But thanks, like I said, thanks for your this one. Let me see Linny Al. What Linny Al is saying. Even China's saying now that they never isolated the virus. This is about the satanic cult's plan for the Vax Pass to get us numbered again since the birth certificate numbers have expired. Now, I am very much familiar with the whole birth certificate thing. And once again, I don't suggest that I agree or disagree with the whole thing. I will just point out for myself, my birth certificate doesn't have all capital letters on it. So there's that. I don't know once again, but once again, we don't have to agree on these things. That's the thing. I don't have to agree with people. I don't even have to agree, like, with a lot of different things that people suggest or hypotheses or theories behind certain things. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We should be able to disagree with each other because we're definitely not ever going to agree with each other on everything. So that's fine. I'm totally fine and on board with that. That's kind of the beauty, right? That's kind of what makes the world go round, is varying opinion and perspectives and ideas. That's a great thing as far as I'm concerned. But it's like I say, my biggest issue as a libertarian or just as a human being is anything that infringes upon our liberties and removes personal responsibility from the equation. Those two things alone are very, very, very important. And not just for me, but they should be for anyone else as well. Hey, Anarcha Rika, what's going on? Big Bird cross state lines. Just kidding. Hey, yeah, Bennett. Yeah, sir. I missed out on that. That's too bad. Well, like I say, I'll have to try to catch up on that. Maybe I'll have my own little laugh here a little later about it. It could very well. That's true too. That is true too. Big Bird. What's this? Big Bird needs to have an AR-15 across state lines. Self defense. The Second Amendment still in effect. Yeah. So that's the Kyle, the young man there that was acquitted on all charges, and that's something that people are definitely talking about a lot today. But I'm going to try to stick with the topic of hand, which is once again the kids. Why are the kids now going to be the target, right? Why? No real genuine need or reason for it other than for them to be included in some of these. And yes, folks, they may have been approved, right? Just like the vaccines for adults were approved, but they were approved for emergency use, right? And regardless of that, even if they were approved for regular use, right? Time is the only thing that's going to tell how this is going to play out in terms of the medium and long term. I mean, just think all it took, right? Vaccines were going to be the end all be all. You just got to get your vaccine. It was just the vaccine, remember? We just got to get a vaccine. And it went from a vaccine to two vaccines to you need two vaccines and now a booster shot, which will be available to everyone, I believe, in Canada sometime around January. It's going through different phases where it's going to be offered. Well, I think it's being offered right now to the vulnerable, like the people in long-term care facilities and that stuff. but they're rolling out eventually, I believe in January, that it's going to be available, the booster for everyone. So it went from, I mean, just think about in just that time frame, right? Of what, 18, 19 months or so, however long this COVID's been around, is it went from, well, first 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? Remember that? Anyways, but we need a vaccine, to now you need 2 vaccines, and now you need 3 vaccines. Right? So see how the science changes real quick. Right? So what's going to happen in, let's say, another year when they find out maybe something even more detrimental is going to come as a consequence, where you're not just needing more vaccines or booster shots, but there's even worse negative consequences from these vaccines in the medium to long term that's showing up now, because you're not going to see long term or medium term effects in the short term, right? So TBD, to be determined. So once again, to be hesitant as an adult makes sense. To be hesitant to putting this stuff in your children makes a whole lot of sense for me. Now, once again, that's not a blanket statement. There might be some parents, there might be some kids out there who these vaccines may very well help. And once again, I'm not here to tell you whether you should or shouldn't, but what I am here to tell you is being forced to, or being bullied or propagandized into doing it, yeah, that don't fly with me. Not as a libertarian, and not as a human being who respects people's sovereignty and individuality. Definitely not. Anyway, so let's see. So the next one I wanted, so let me bring this off here, folks. Oh no, I wanted to bring that back up again and show you a bunch of stuff. But actually, I'll get to that maybe a little later on. This was the thing that I found most striking, and I'm going to share it now. Unfortunately, I couldn't have this article fully available to me because I haven't decided to pay for Postmedia articles as of yet. I may or may not, but you get a certain amount of free articles per month. But unfortunately, this is not one of them. But if I reload the page, it gives me a quick snippet, or at least enough time to at least, and you'll see. So pay attention, right, to what the headline of this particular article of the National Post is. I'm going to reload it there. Oops, sorry, my bad. I hit the wrong button there, folks. But we're back. We're back. No worries there. Hit the wrong button. But let me get what I was talking about here. Yeah, I got to do that again. Share screen. Okay, let me do this again, folks. Sorry about that. So here we go. Get ready to check this out. Okay, poll finds strong support for vaccine passports for children, folks. For children. Oh, it's actually staying up there on the screen. Wow. That's odd. Eh? That is odd. It's actually staying up there. Ha! Imagine that. It wasn't earlier, but it is now. Oh, no, there we go. So it took a while longer this time. But in case you didn't catch the numbers, let me just reload and check again. I believe it was 64%. So once again, this is where they're trying to get you on board with this. Support for requiring COVID-19 vaccination to attend school came in at 64% among people with children at home. I just want these damn kids out of my house. Yeah, I didn't have them to raise them. No, apparently I had them so that the school could do that for me, right? Anyways, I kind of joke in some way, but now we're showing, the polls are now showing, and you know how this works, right? This is the lead up. This is the kind of propaganda that's going to lead the majority of the Canadian population to just go along with the narrative, right? Is, hey, well, apparently the majority of my fellow Canadian citizens are right on board with doing this. So I want to fit in. So I'm going to do the same thing. So this is the messaging we're getting here, folks, is the majority of Canadians want even their children to have the mark. I'm joking. To have the QR code, the passport, right? It's a crazy, crazy world, folks. But that's what it is. Now I'll take this off because I know you're just seeing you're not really seeing the article right there. But like I say, I will definitely place a link to that. And if you don't typically watch National Post, when you'll probably be able to watch this or look at this article for free. And I definitely recommend you read it and save it because, like I say, now we're getting to the point, like I say, where they're ramping up the rhetoric and trying to use polling. Once again, it's amazing how well that works. Actually, you just gotta convince people that, hey, the majority of the people are on board with this stuff. What's wrong with you? Right? That's all you got to do. Boy, it must have been something along those very same lines. In China, Germany, Russia. I mean, lots of examples, or Austria today. Even, I mean, Austria. That's the thing. That's another thing too. With when I say to people all the time, and I get the right wingers all mad at me when I say, "Now, liberty, it's not about left versus right, folks. It's authoritarians versus libertarians." And I get the right wingers saying, "No, it's the right wingers. We're the ones that care about freedom. It's those lefties. It's those damn lefties." Yeah, it's all now. I will say, in modern examples, there's a lot of lefties, but there's a lot of righties too. Blaine Higgs in New Brunswick is one. Doug Ford in Ontario is yet another. And I mean, like I say, was this Victor Orban or whatever this guy is in Austria? Is that him or is that Hungary? I'm almost certain it's a right wing guy in Austria. That's running things over there, and he's on board. And this guy's gone even more insane. He's actually, apparently, the news now is that vaccine mandates are going to come into effect. A full lockdown and vaccine. In other words, you have to get a vaccine. I like to see how that's going to play out, or I don't want to see it, but I believe we're going to be privy to find out how that's going to play out. I don't think it's going to work out well. Anyways, let me see. I see there's a few people chatting in here, and I just want to make sure. Can anyone see my post? I can see your post, Don Hicks. I see your post. Is there anything before that? Let me just look real quick. As I scroll up on the chat here, I'm not seeing anything prior to "Can anyone see my post?" So I do see that. And so can Anarcha Rika. And so can Lineal. And so can David. Yes. So anyways, thanks. I sent one regarding the RCMP Mounties for Freedom. Oh, RCMP Mounties for Freedom letter and got no response. Thanks for replying. Not a problem. I sent one regarding the RCMP Mounties for Freedom letter and got no response. Thanks for replying. Not a problem. Not a problem. But I did not see that. Not in this stream, anyways. Yes, they are. There's no doubt. But I can't. Some of the lefties are. Some aren't. That's hey, what's going on? There's my son Matthew. Hey, what's going on, Matt? Nice to see you in the chat. And we'll be doing our own collaboration probably rather soon. Not playing out well here in Texas. Well, I was under the impression that Texas was doing better than most, but maybe someday. I don't know if you're much for going on camera there, David, but I would love to bring you on the stream someday and have a little chat about what's going on down there in Texas. Let's see what Rika's saying about Michael Malice. Oh, it's a quote. Conservatives are progressives driving the speed limit. Yeah, that's a good quote, actually. Michael Malice is right on the money. Right on the money. Oh, what's this? Australia mandates vax for all by February 2022. Wow. So Australia's going that way. That's the thing, folks. Like some country, right? Some jurisdiction around the world's always got to be first. Don't breathe a sigh of relief just yet because it isn't Canada, because who's to say or suggest that they're not going to follow suit eventually, right? Because, I mean, just look, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to look where we're at today. And if you suggest that it's not going to get any worse, well, I would suggest that if you had said that about 15,000 times prior to now, you were wrong every one of them. No, not necessarily 15,000, but you get my point. If you were to suggest, today, the kind of things that have taken place, you wouldn't have even believed yourself 18 months ago. But yet here we are, right? So who knows? Yes, actually, I did hear about Germany trying to follow next. How fitting. Yeah. Right? In Germany. How crazy is it that Germany, well, I mean, Austria as well, right? Austria as well. But I mean, Germany, really though? And just to see, here's my paper, like to see people in Germany, like, here's my papers. Eek. Dang, no grandparents left to tell you the stories, right? Well, even if your grandparents are no longer around to tell you the stories about, here's my papers. Yeah, the internet still exists, right? Pretty sure there's lots of old books and literature you could find. You might want to brush up on some of that stuff because, yeah, been there, done that, right? And apparently they're going to do it again. Not good, folks. Once again, how far does that go, right? The early rise of fascism at the beginning probably was not nearly as bad as it was towards the end, right? It got progressively worse as time went by. So just because, in the boiling frog type scenario that the water's just, at this point in time tolerable, well, it's still going to get hotter yet. Mark my words. Yeah, and that's another thing too, David, the Nuremberg Code. What happened to that? That should have been enough. It was supposed to be enough. Never again, right? Never again. Well, how so many people's memories seem to be wiped out. All it takes is time. The authoritarians are relentless, as I've said many times before, which means and suggests that we freedom fighters and liberty lovers have to be, at the bare minimum, at least that relentless ourselves. And even more so, I would suggest. Anyway, so now that we got the poll, okay, so here let's get this CBC article and hear about the vaccine that has just been approved that's coming to Canada and coming for the kids. Just checking to make sure. Yeah, okay, all is good there. So this is updated on November 19th, 2021. COVID-19 vaccines for children will start arriving Sunday, government says. Vaccine approved for use in children ages 5 to 11. This was reported by Catherine Tunney. The first dose of Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine for children aged 5 to 11 will start to arrive in Canada on Sunday, Public Services and Procurement Minister Flomena Tassi said today. Tassi said the government and Pfizer-BioNTech had agreed already to an accelerated delivery schedule, and more than 2.9 million doses will be shipped by the end of the week, enough to provide a first dose to every eligible Canadian child. Ooh, boy, they really want to get everybody on board with this one, right? Earlier today, Health Canada approved Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine for children aged 5 to 11, promising what could be a very different new year for hundreds of thousands of families. After thorough and independent scientific review of the evidence, the department has determined that the benefits of the vaccine for children between 5 and 11 years of age outweigh the risk, Health Canada said in a news release Friday morning. Right? So this is the thing. Based on who? Like, if I said to someone else, right? Let's say there were 10 people sitting here in this room with me. And I said, there's only a 1 in 10 chance that anyone's going to have any negative reaction to this, which means the full 90% of you are going to have nothing but positive reaction and positive outcomes from getting this vaccine. So based on those numbers, 9 to 1, that's a very clear majority, right? And based on my opinion, right, and I'm not included in that 10, right, is like, I think it's worth it. I think the benefits outweigh the risk, because if all 10 of you are vaccinated, sure, that one, yeah, they might die, or they might get a blood clot, or they might, have long-term negative consequences to their health, severe ones even. Well, yeah, but 90 of you will be okay. And because 90% of you will be okay, and you're going to help protect me, well, then, the one person, the benefits outweigh the risk. But how quickly the perspective changes if you went and talk to that one person, right? That has that potential to not just dying, but having severe negative reactions from the vaccine, right? Well, I'm pretty sure their opinion's a little different, right? Hey, wait a minute. Nope. The risk is much too high, and the benefit is much too low for me. So it really comes down to, at the end of the day, is based on your own subjective opinion and where you are or who you are, right? Not to mention your moral or ethical stances, or whether you have them at all, or principles as well. But think about that. The benefits outweigh the risk. This is the problem with the majority or the mob dictating everything is if the majority will be okay and it's just a minority that'll suffer, well, of course they'll always say the benefits outweigh the risk because the majority is right. They're like, we're going to be okay. It's always about sacrificing the other. That's the thing. They're not even willing to do the self-sacrifice. All these benevolent overlords and health experts, they're just doing it for people's health. They're doing it for you. They're doing it for the greater good. But wait a minute. No, apparently not. Seems like they're being quite selfish, aren't they? Because they're more than willing to sacrifice others at the altar of the COVID vaccine, which once again, why? 99.9% survival rate in Canada of not just kids 5 to 11, but from zero, basically from being born to 19 years old. That's a big swath of the population, right? And like I say, 0.1%, 0.1%, 99% chance you're going to make it. But that's apparently not enough for some people. They're willing to sacrifice people who even have a 99% chance, 99.9% chance risk of surviving without these vaccines. They're willing to risk them for that 0.1%. Once again, folks, who's truly selfish? And I can throw a lot more things at them. I'm being kind with just the selfish label. Anyways, let me read a little bit more here. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine authorized in Canada for use in this age group and marks a major milestone in Canada's fight against COVID-19. Pfizer-BioNTech's pediatric vaccine is delivered in doses 1/3 the size of those given to adults and kids 12 and older. Health Canada authorized a 2-dose regimen to be administered 3 weeks apart. So once again, folks, it's not even going to be a 1-doser. You got to have 2. It's a 2-for-1. Well, actually, I don't know. That's the other thing. Who's paying for all this? I'm not even going to get into that. Not even going to get into that. Let's just stick with the actual health aspects and the vaccine aspect of this. But yeah, so apparently there's going to be 2. 3 weeks apart, folks. 3 weeks apart for young kids. Like I say, as a parent, it's totally up to you what you do. But I would definitely suggest and recommend that you make sure you're wise, wary, and fully informed before you make any of these decisions in terms of vaccinating your kids. Because it is not, Health Canada, it's not the federal government, it's not the provincial government that's going to really, hinder your happiness or your life going forward nearly as much as those kids if you forcefully inject them or have them take these vaccines, right? Without knowing what the potential consequences or ramifications could be. Those kids are going to grow up someday. And they're going to remember what you did, the choices you made. So once again, just make sure you're wise and wary and properly informed. Because if you're just listening to the establishment, you're lacking a well-rounded intellect and thought processes as it pertains to COVID-19. You are making ill-informed and misinformed decisions. As much as they try to label people such as myself as the ones who are misinforming or disinforming. No. They're just projecting, folks. Because once again, I'm not even sitting here saying that you shouldn't take a vaccine. I'm just saying you might want to be wise and wary and think about the fact that 99.9% of kids today are doing just fine with it. And we've also heard, and the reports, and you folks have seen them. Matter of fact, I'll bring another one up now just to further iterate that. Where is it? Shoot, I lost it. Oh, no, there it is. Secondary immune response. So I'll just, rather than bring it up, I'll place it in the link because I'll have to close one, the other one. I already read this to you folks in I think the last live stream. So it's from Reuters. It's healthcare and pharmaceuticals. Delta does not appear to make children sicker and secondary immune response stronger after infection than after shot. That was reported October 8th, 2021. And like I say, I'll make sure to link this in the description of the stream. So let me move that way over here so I know to do so. But yeah, so even the kids that are getting the COVID, what this data, what this information is telling me and telling the rest of us is their natural immunity is actually stronger than that in which people have been receiving from the vaccines. So why give these kids a vaccine when they got a 99.9% survival rate and they end up with a stronger immune response and better protection against not just the original, but the variants as well? Makes no sense to me, right? So what's with the rush? What's with the panic to get these vaccines in the kid's arm? Once again. Okay, so let me scroll over here once again, folks. Oh, let me finish actually reading some of this article. The National Advisory Committee on Immunization, NACI, however, is recommending that the spacing between doses be increased to at least 8 weeks, as evidence has been growing that a longer interval generates a more robust immune response. The longer spacing might also help to decrease even further the risk of the rare side effect of myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle, NACI said. So they admit right there that now it's rare, but it's there, right? If we could save just one life, what happened to that, right? And apparently, that, like I say, the rhetoric changes so much, right, to suit how they want things to unfold or how they want things done. I mean, it's right here. I mean, if you admit that there's the chance of heart inflammation, right? And we also know the blood clot thing, that was a thing, it's real, that there's risk for that. Well, why do you want to place this entire population, this 99.9% children who are doing just fine, why do you want to place them at any risk for these things needlessly? I question that. Health Canada said clinical trials showed the vaccine was 90.7% effective at preventing COVID-19 in children 5 to 11 years of age, and that no serious side effects were identified. In a statement Friday, Pfizer said the new doses would be shipped imminently. See, this is the thing they did for the adults too. Health Canada, look, these vaccines are, what was it for adults? They were like 95, like it was the BioNTech or what was the other one? Moderna. One of them they were touting as 95% effective. Yeah, for a short amount of time. And they were saying that they didn't come with no serious side effects at first for adults either. But yet we find out, yes, there were serious side effects. So once again, to be determined, but the established media, they're more than willing to pump out this kind of narrative without even questioning it, right? Without even questioning it. I mean, after having to report on this stuff and have to, go back in and edit out your articles or do new articles saying, oh, we were wrong. Or actually, they would never admit they're wrong. But with the new information, right, without ever admitting you're wrong, at some point in time, you'd think they'd be like, stop and pause. Let's wait. Should I just type this stuff in without questioning it? I don't know, but apparently so. The provinces and territories are responsible for administering the vaccine. Ontario Health Minister Christine Elliott said the province's booking system should be ready as early as next week for parents to make appointments for their children. Everyone benefits. Doctor, not expert. Dr. Michelle Barton Forbes is an associate professor at Western University's Schulich School of Medicine and Dentistry in London, Ontario, who specializes in pediatric infectious disease. She said this could be a game changer for Canada's pandemic response. So ultimately, not only will we help to keep kids from acute COVID-19 and its consequences, which are, apparently she doesn't ever read the actual stats or facts and statistics on this, I guess, right? But we will keep kids healthy, and we also keep them happy as they are allowed to do in-class learning and extracurricular activities, she said. We will keep kids healthy, and we will also keep them happy as they are allowed. That sounds weird. That sounds really weird. Anyways, this would also help reduce new adult cases in the community resulting from children with school acquisition who go home and infect their parents and grandparents. It could also help to limit COVID-19 related hospitalizations at a time when other viruses are already driving pediatric hospitalizations and ICU admissions. So there's the admission right there. There it is right there. Yes, we have to sacrifice our kids for the adults, right? Really, really, this lady sounds really, really selfish. Really selfish as far as I'm concerned. Extremely selfish, lady, right? Can't you just protect yourself? And can't the people that you're worried about protect themselves and just leave the kids alone? You can't do that? No. You must impose these things on the children, right? So that you'll feel all safe and secure, or that schools can get back in action and they can get back in classes. Is that really the priority here when we know that eventually at some point in time, people will come to realize, just like, we don't need horses anymore, right? We have these things called cars. And at some point in time, people are going to realize that you can get educated without going to a government school. You really can, folks. You really can. But this lady, she doesn't realize that apparently. Maybe someone should call her up and inform her of that. I don't know. She seems a little bit out of touch in some areas of life. Okay. Carolyn Quack. Carolyn Quack. I don't know. CH lots of times could be pronounced with it as a like, right? Could be Quatch. Well, let's just say Carolyn Quack, the former chair of NACI and a pediatric infectious disease expert at the University of Montreal, said that while it's normal for parents to question vaccines for children, the trials show the vaccine is effective and less reactogenic, meaning the percentage of children aged 5 to 11 who receive the vaccine and experience fever, fatigue, and myalgia is lower than the percentage of vaccine recipients, 16 to 25-year-olds, who experience similar reactions. So they're still admitting it happens, just it's a lower number. Well, so once again, sacrifice those ones. Listen, it's fine. It's fine. It's only a minority. It's I don't know, fairly rare as we know for now. So it's okay. Sacrifice them for the greater good. Oh, what's the greater good? Me. That's what she said. I'm the greater good, right? So everyone else must be sacrificed for me. Oh, so selfish. So selfish. There were enough children in the Pfizer study to know this with confidence, she said. Well, that sounds like very scientific. Sounds very scientific. There were enough children in the Pfizer study to know this with confidence. Wow. I feel much better now. It is brilliant that we have this vaccine for kids. Oh, it's brilliant. Like, just listen to the way they go on with this stuff, folks. Like, come on, really, though? I mean, come on. Vaccines? Are we really excited about vaccines? I mean, even if you're pro-vaccine, is it something that you go to bed at night thinking, oh, they come up with a new vaccine that I could take? Oh, yeah, sure. Going on roller coasters, that can be quite the thrill. And, maybe winning the lottery. Oh, think of the fun we can have to spend the money. But no, what I get most excited about is vaccines. Oh, they're just so amazing. More vaccines, please. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant, folks. It's brilliant. Wow. I'm just so glad that I am nowhere near these kind of people. Don't have to deal with them on a regular basis. Well, I mean, they're trying to force and impose themselves on me, but it's not working out too well. Anyways, said Dr. Alison McGreer, an infectious disease specialist. Wow. And microbiologist at Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto. It's brilliant, she says. It's so brilliant. You got to think, is that what they were saying when they come up with all the different methods to, experiment on, not just women and children and men over in Germany, lots of experiments. Is that what the scientists at the time were saying? Or when they come up with all the new ways, like the gas chambers and stuff to kill off the Jews, is that what the scientists or the medical community at the time were saying? This is brilliant. Here we thought we were going to have to do all this shooting. You know how many bullets you know how long it takes to shoot that many bullets to kill that many, whatever people, right? Well, this is just brilliant if we don't have to do that stuff. We could just stick them all in there to the tune of, let's say, 1,000 at a time. It's brilliant. Like I say, they might be good at in some aspects of the medical field. I have no doubt some of these people are really smart in some areas of the medical field or community. No doubt. But they're really, really fucking shitty and dumb as fuck when it comes to morals and ethics. And obviously that has taken place and transpired in many countries around the world, folks. And Canada is no exception. That's for sure. That's for certain. And that's something we should all know at this point in time. Yeah. I believe there's going to be a whole lot of red pilling going on in not just Canada, but the Western world over the next foreseeable future. Because reality, you're not putting this genie back in the bottle. That's for sure. Although COVID-19 isn't usually as serious in children as it is in older adults, she said, it is a non-trivial disease. It's something most parents will want their children well protected from. Why? Isn't usually as serious in children? Well, 99.9% going to be okay. Going to survive it. That doesn't sound like just a minor discrepancy or difference. That sounds like a very huge difference, right? But like I say, apparently this expert hasn't even read the reports from their very own departmental heads in government. Apparently not. Apparently, like the left hand doesn't even know what the right hand's doing these days. Of course, that's nothing new. That's nothing new. Whatever proportion of kids gets vaccinated will create a significant reduction in transmission and just let us all get back to something closer to normal. A significant reduction. So see, once again, whatever proportion of kids get vaccinated will create a significant reduction, not eliminating. So it's still people are going to die. Still people are in the senior homes are still going to die from COVID, right? It's still, but at least some of them will be okay, right? We're more than willing, according to these people, we're more than willing to sacrifice all of our freedoms and liberties that took, tens of thousands of men, 100 years ago or less than 100 years ago. During 2 world wars, it took to fight for our freedoms. But yes, we should sacrifice, give them all up, give up all those freedoms and liberties for, it'll be a significant reduction, which in reality, we know it's going to be around. I mean, some of these experts have even said and suggest already, it's an endemic, folks. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be the same thing year after year after year after year after year, just like the flu and the common cold. But once again, they love playing politics and authoritarianism with some weird excuse of pretending that they care about people. Some people, no doubt. Others, not so much. The Canadian Pediatric Society. Look at all these institutions and look at how quick they are to run and destroy their reputations. It's a shame because someday might be very well be good people in these places and no one will ever trust them again, or a substantial portion of the population will never trust. Just destroying things hand over fist. I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you, because a lot of these institutions deserve everything that they're getting. But it's a shame. It's a shame. It really is, because there are probably some really good people in these institutions as well. Of course, those are the ones that if they speak up are beat back down and told to sit down and shut up, right? As part of its approval, Health Canada is requiring Pfizer BioNTech to continue providing information to Health Canada on the safety and efficacy of the vaccine in the younger age group. But we're going to, we'll get them to still give us the safe. So they're still studying it, right? Of course they're still studying it, but we'll roll it out anyways. Sure, all the facts aren't in yet. No, of course not, because there's no way we could possibly know, but we'll go out, we'll do it anyways. We'll vaccinate all these kids and hopefully we'll get that information before too many of them have negative consequences or reaction, right? But if not, oh well, oops, my bad. It was all for the greater good. This will provide the department with more data from ongoing studies and real-world use to ensure that the benefits of the vaccine continue to outweigh any risk, as well as to detect any potential new safety signals in any age group, said the department. Health Canada and the Public Health Agency of Canada will continue to closely monitor the safety of this vaccine and will take action if any safety concerns are identified. We'll act after the ill has already taken place. Well, that's going to be great. I feel so reassured and secure now, knowing that they're going to react and respond after the fact. Oh, that's good to know. Okay, might have been a good idea to do it beforehand, but anyways, just out of curiosity, I got to tell you, folks, the commenters on CBC News on their website, because you can't say the comments on Facebook's CBC's Facebook page, because they're not allowed anymore. How you like that? CBC got so sick and tired of people disagreeing with them or actually offering real feedback, like the opinions of the people who pay for their service, right? That they closed it down entirely. It was an experiment, and now they've said, well, we're just going to close it entirely. Yeah, sure, you guys pay for us. Sure, you're forced to pay for us, but no, your opinions don't matter. Nothing like being treated like second-class citizen. Not the first time. Won't be the last either. Okay. Let's see. Oh, look at that. How did that happen? Josh Weber. Yay, more lab rats. How did that sneak in there? I like it. I like it. I would like it, except that I don't sign into this site anymore. This is very heavily moderated. It's really authoritarian, some of the moderators in there. But as you can see, every once in a while, one slips by. That means that people that actually know what they're doing have done the calculation and figured out that the benefits outweigh the risk. AVers, so anti-vaxxers, will try and tell you otherwise, but they don't know what they're talking about. Huh? The people that actually know what they're doing. So, once again, they're selectively picking some people over others, because there's lots of doctors and experts that, as we know, who disagree with this stuff. But once again, these CBC fans, they like to pick their experts and pretend that other ones are just conspiracy theorists and right wingers, right? No one should be coerced or shamed into this. I agree, Mike Calzone. I support vaccines and I'm fully vaccinated against COVID. However, my kid 5 has had COVID and besides a fever for a day, didn't have anything else. Felt fine the next day. Nothing more than that. For me, there's no benefit in giving it to my kid. 100%. Well said. Well said indeed. The world has gone mad. Well, maybe Canadians' opinions are starting to shift up or change, because I'm actually quite impressed here. This is nice to see, actually. Parents, if you have questions, talk to your healthcare provider and don't go by any online or social media. I would definitely agree with that, especially if you got a healthcare provider that actually is in the healthcare field and is not biased one way or the other, that actually will give you the facts, right? Because if they are, then the doctor will tell you, well, your kid's got a 99.9% chance of doing just fine, surviving that. So, yeah, especially if they've already had it. Yeah, what the heck would you get a vaccine for? I don't know. Vaccination is the quickest way to return to normal. Yeah. See, like, the person that's promoting it is vaccination is the quickest way to return to normal, right? Nothing scientific or evidence-based there. Is just someone's opinion. Like, you just do it so I can get my freedoms back. Apparently they care about the freedoms. Seems like it anyways, but if you got talking to them, they'd be more than willing to suggest that your freedom shouldn't matter, but they care about theirs anyways. I wonder if they really know what they're doing. Nah, probably not, Pierre Ouellette. Probably not. Science once again saving us from our own ignorance. Thank you, science, and thank you to the hardworking health professionals that stand in the front lines for a thankless position for all of us. There's so much to fucking laugh about that. Science, once again, science isn't a person. People are so weird, man. Or should I say, this is just someone repeating and regurgitating CBC talking points. So you're doing a good job at that, Scott Thomas, but that's about it. Thank you, science. And thank you to the hardworking health professionals that stand the front lines in a thankless position for all this. Oh, you mean like the thousands of those working healthcare professionals that are now being fired for not getting the vaccine? And these are people in that very field who are healthcare professionals who don't want the vaccine. So, but once again, Scott's not talking to those people in the healthcare field. Well, you might want to point that out there, Scott, because it's quite confusing and misleading. That's that there. If I was a fact checker, I'd say, liar, liar, pants on fire, right? This is a false statement. This is fake news. This is misinformation. This is disinformation. And that's actual true. Sad day for Canada. 2 months of data to approve 55. 2 months of data to approve 55 years to release the information to scientists. Nothing to read here. Wait, what? FDA wants 55 years to process requests over vaccine data. Wow. Not 100% sure on that one. I'm not privy to that, but if that's true, wow, right? Wow. And like I said, what's going the moderators at CBC gone to sleep? Are they not paying attention? What's going on? How are these comments sneaking in? Good news, this will protect kids and also vulnerable adults. Get your kids vaccinated. Like once again, it's just an advertising, just advertising. That's all I hear from these people who are promoting it. Just advertising. That's all they're doing. Advertising. We can see that the University of Oxford has determined that fully vaccinated people with Pfizer are 65% less likely to transmit the disease. This holds true for the kids. It will be a huge game changer in the fight against. That means 35. They have a 35% chance of. Anyways, like I say, these people when they're picking their numbers, selectively picking their numbers, all that. It's quite funny. It is. It is quite funny. All right, back to the comments. See how you fine folks are doing down there. Wait. You guys are okay. There we go. Canadian Libertarian Live and Saturday Night Classic on same day. Loving life right now. Thanks. Really appreciate that. These colors don't run. I really appreciate that. The kind words are very, very nice to get once in a while. It's good to know that I'm appreciated. It really helps. I can't believe all these effing cowards sacrificing their children so they can be safe. F you. I'm with you, Rainy Steps. I'm totally with you. Well, I would never do that. Now, my sons, are older and on their own, so I don't have to worry about that. But I assure you that if they had children, which they're working on right now, yeah, they wouldn't be so quick to sacrifice their children at the altar of collectivism. That's for sure. That's a guaranteed. And I'm very proud to say that I got some good peeps in my family. Very, very good people. I think NB government is lying about how many have the vax. I don't believe anything they say. How would you know, right? How would you know? It's hard to determine that kind of stuff. Okay, back down, Mr. Matt. Mr. Matt. Hey, LOL, Mr. Matt. Hey, thanks for joining the chat, Mr. Matt. See what else we got. BC is in disaster mode. Yeah, how you like the disaster? I mean, if it rains too much, climate change. If it's too hot and dry, and you're having forest fires, it's climate change. So it doesn't matter what it does; they can just attribute any weather to climate change. Like that's pretty coincidental and convenient for them, isn't it? I would say. But yeah, it's crazy stuff and pushing for this stuff. Yeah. Eastern Canada better get used to broken supply lines. Still time to prep. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. This actually might be these broken lines, supply lines might now they will be hard to deal with, no doubt about it, but they might actually be a great boon for our Western countries to finally get back to start making shit again, right? Right? Maybe it'll create a whole new era of entrepreneurship and growth in actual business, proper business and manufacturing, and actually supplying a lot of the things that we require on our own. Now, trade is very important. I am definitely not against trade. But I'm also wise enough to, because I love trading with people too, but I would never place myself in a position where I'm wholly relying on everyone else and that vulnerable. That's a bad idea, right? There has to be a little bit of self-sufficiency, right? But yeah, I hear you there. I hear you there. Because as we know, on the West Coast, BC, that's where the ports are to bring all that stuff in from China. Whereas, yeah, here on the old East Coast, across the pond, we used to do a lot of trading with Europe and the UK, but like I say, most of those countries have outsourced all their manufacturing, or at least a substantial portion to China as well. So yeah, we're heavily reliant on the Communist Party that is China, and the many different factions and aspects of their mixed economy. Right, wild stuff. Boosty, Don Hicks says. Boosty. No gas or food. Yeah, I seen that. I seen actually, John. Thanks for pointing that out. What was it? You're restricted to 30 liters or $30. Yeah, 30 liters of gas. I got to tell you, for me, if I was restricted to 30 liters, and if you knew how far I had to travel for my job, it's like, well, what do I only go to work one day a week or a day and a half? Or it's crazy stuff. All they wanted an NDP government in BC. Well, that should fix things. It's working out quite well, isn't it? We will face drought here in Saskatchewan. That could happen, I suppose. Supply chains being disrupted deliberately. That could be the case. That could happen. Who knows? My town, the homeless. Walmart has no meat in my town. The homeless have stolen most winter clothes. Wow. Okay. Yes. Get them back in kitty prison. Yeah, exactly. Got to get them exactly. Well, that's how you keep their little minds shaped and molded into conforming to the religion of statism, right? You got to go to church. I mean, school, right? Got to get your programming some way. Which emergency fast track study is she referring to? That's a good question. Let me see if I can go up and find that. Was there a link? It's a good question, Erica. Rika. No, there was no link. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you're gonna, no, the only thing I'm seeing. Well, wait now. Let's see what this is here. Just one sec. Published November 19th, 2021. I did click on, there was one link in the article. It's an advisory committee statement, ACS, National Advisory Committee on Immunization Recommendations on the use of Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, 10 mcg in children 5 to 11 years of age. Well, I will suggest, Rika, if you want, you can click on that CBC article and you'll see there's a link. Like I say, it'll be in the description of the stream. Where did that go? And there is an actual link to something here. I'm not sure exactly. It says Health Canada authorized 2-dose regime to be administered 3 weeks apart. The National Advisory Committee, however, is recommended the spacing between. So the link is basically in reference to the difference or the discrepancy in the spacing between the doses to 8 weeks rather than 3 weeks. But you may very well find further information contained within it that might answer your question. So if you do want to check that article and click on it, I'm sure you might find something to help you out there. Now, what's the next one we're at? Where are we at here? Right, and that was another thing. Actually, I wanted to point out. So there was this. Um, Let me bring this up as it pertains to. Actually, I'll just say real quick, but like I say, I'll link it in the description of the stream. So it's a thing about regarding Iceland. Iceland is now reimposing or reimposed their COVID restrictions after cases. So basically, Iceland, which is an island isolated all by itself, right? I think one really major city. I mean, it's this population of what 300 some thousand around or something like that, and not like New York City or Paris or something where you have massive amounts of people traveling there on a regular basis, right? Kind of deal. And they were up to what effectively for the adult population, excluding children and those who can't, but is effectively getting upwards towards 90% vaccination rate. And then they had a big surge in cases. I mean, how does that happen? I mean, even in Canada, what is the fully vaccinated rate? Let me actually bring that up because we can find that out on that study or the Canadian Stats Canada. Oh, actually, there are things on here I wanted to show you folks. Let me bring that up again. Share. Yeah. So let me find out. What is your? How many people are fully vaccinated. Does it say at the very top? Fully vaccinated. Total case, total death. Province, territory. I'm not sure if this page is going to give me the information I'm looking for, but I'm sure I can find that out rather quickly just by doing a quick Google search, folks. Let me just see what the exact, okay. Fully vaccinated Canada. Okay. Okay, let's see there. COVID-19 tracker.ca. Uh, hmm. 28,853,278 Canadians are fully vaccinated against COVID-19, having received both required doses. Well, why don't you tell me that in a percentage rate? Oh, here we go. At least one. So 75.389. Once again, I'll place this link in the description of the stream as well. So in Canada, 75.389%. That's across all of Canada. 75% of all Canadians are protected, fully vaccinated, or at least that's what it suggests. So, what if you have 75% of your population that's fully vaccinated? Why are those 75% supporting these vaccine mandates? Or why would anyone want to support? They're protected, right? You're protected. Don't you have faith in your vaccines? I mean, you went and got them, right? Anyways, let me like I say, I want to read a bunch of this information on this page because I find quite a bit of it quite interesting. So this is a moving average of cases last 7 days. And look at New Brunswick. Like, this is the hilarious part, especially when you're talking about it. Here in New Brunswick, we got circuit breakers and the passport and all that stuff. And there's New Brunswick. Look at that. Look at that. Barely a blip on the screen. Look, Nova Scotia, PEI, Yukon. What's this one? Newfoundland. So, I mean, the East Coast still, even with the higher numbers of cases, I mean, to have restrictions and impositions on your liberty still being imposed with these kind of numbers is just it's unbelievable, folks. There, where we go. Weekly variant breakdown. There was another one that I wanted to show. Oh, here it is. Epidemic curve. So, as the media's been touting, you would think that this fourth wave, and with all the restrictions that are even more severe than what we had as we experienced, the second or third wave, and especially with the vaccine mandates and passports and all this crap. I mean, none of that existed, um, or to a lesser degree during the second and third wave. But look, here's the fourth wave. If you listen to the established media, your immediately thought would be when you're talking about the fourth wave that this should be like way up here, that it's much more severe than the first, second, and third wave. That is who is the worst yet, right? But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, yeah, it looks like it's a little more severe than the first wave, but there's the second, there's the third. Looks like second and third were much, much worse than the fourth wave. But yet the fourth wave is when some of the worst restrictions and impositions on our liberty are taking place. So why would that be the case? Because this is total cases right here, folks. Total cases by age, 10-year groups by age. Well, I mean, the cases aren't going to matter because it depends on, or age doesn't matter because it depends on who you're testing, right? Okay. Detailed case data from we know the age of patients in 100% of cases, both age and gender, 99 case reporting cancer, 35. So this is just breaking it down along age, distribution of COVID cases. So this is the thing. So here's a perfect example, right? So I love it. So based on this chart, distribution of COVID. So it's showing the majority of cases, 21.2%, are in people that are 19 and younger. That's what they're saying. And yet, if the younger people are having are getting many more cases of COVID as compared to the older people, then why is the number of deaths, hospitalizations, and ECU admittance and all that stuff for kids so low, right? I mean, you would think if the numbers, what this tells you is if at this stage of the of COVID-19, if the majority or the plurality, because you're even here, look at 2029, apparently another 18.9%, 30 to 39, 200. So apparently, if you take just 40 and under, let's just do 40 and under, right? So we got 18, 16, so 20, 34, 44, 54, 55. Oh, let's say, well, I mean, it's definitely a majority of the cases. Let's say it's in people under 40 now, but yet those people are surviving and enduring COVID with barely a whimper, with barely a scratch, with barely even noticing it, right? And with kids 19 under, as we've seen, surviving to the tune of 99.9%. Yet they're the ones that are going to be forced or have these vaccines imposed on them. For what? Once again, if they're getting the cases and they're surviving them, and by surviving getting COVID and surviving them, not only coming through them with flying colors, but also because they get natural immunity, are much better protected and much less susceptible to be spreading the virus as a consequence, then I would suggest there doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be looking to force these or have these kids vaccinated in such large numbers. They're doing fine, folks. They're doing fine. And this is another part I wanted to point out, how people were exposed. So this is going to show you any exposure that occurred in Canada. So obviously 92.4% of Canadian cases happened in Canada. Like, oh, but you see how they break it down to the point where from contact with a traveler. So it's only 0.7%. So traveling, according, listen, if you were just going to read this and you know, there's lies, damn lines, and statistics, right? But if you could think about how you could present this kind of statistics. So if only 0.7% of cases are coming from contact with a traveler and an actual someone who actually traveled outside Canada, it's only 0.9%. You would say, well, the travel is, go for it. Traveling is fine. But that's the thing. How did the virus get to Canada? The virus didn't fly here on its own private jet, right? It came here as a consequence of the traveling. So even though the numbers are really, really low and the percentage of people who are spreading it within the country, but it's the people that brought it to the country in the first place is how it got here, right? That's how it works, folks. That's literally how it works. But anyways, once again, I'm not picking that you should prevent travel or not. I'm just saying, look at how you could present this stuff. You could say that people in Canada, like Canadians, it's those darn pesky Canadians in Canada. They're the bad people. Whereas if you just had visitors from other countries, well, look, they're good people. They're not doing nothing. They must be the ones that masking up even more. No, because they're only in and out kind of deal, or not, spending as much time around people as existing Canadians. But that's the thing. If you live in this country, of course the cases are going to spread be spread by Canadians. But they got here by people who traveled here. The virus got across the ocean somehow, and it wasn't by a luxury cruise ship. Right? I tell you that. People. Okay, cases. And this is the other thing I'm really curious. So cases following vaccination. So this is where it gets to the point where they're talking about cases following vaccination. But of course, the numbers are going to skew if you start measuring cases following vaccination. Oh, look at it. Oh, here it is right here. Actually, this is great. They extracted November 12th, 2021 for cases for from December 14th, 2020 up until October 30th, 2020. While the COVID-19 vaccines are effective, there's still a small percentage of the population who are vaccinated that will still be infected with COVID-19 if they're exposed to the virus that caused it. This means that even with high vaccine effectiveness, a small percentage of the population who are vaccinated against COVID-19 will still get sick, and some may be hospitalized or even die as a result of their illness. It is also possible that a person could be infected just before or just after vaccination and still get sick. It typically takes about 2 weeks for the body to build protection after vaccination. So a person could get sick if the vaccine is not had enough to protect them. So, I mean, it's even admitting right there on their website that, yeah, you can still get COVID-19. If you can still get it, you can still spread, right? History data for 79.6. So, of the cases, so here we go. See, this is where they're trying to make the case for the unvaccinated. So, 81.8% were unvaccinated at the time of their episode date. 5% were not yet protected by the vaccines, their episode date. 5.9 were only partially vaccinated, and it was only 7.3% were fully vaccinated. So that's based on measuring from specific times and dates. But as we've seen by that article I read earlier, in Nova Scotia, in one particular snippet and timeline, well, it was a full 1/3 or 31 to 34% of vaccinated people who were still getting COVID-19. So that's the thing when you try to stick all these numbers and all these statistics and facts and data points, when you try to stick it all in to one big like survey or field or reporting site such as this, is there's so many ways. There's a never-ending, almost seemingly amount of ways where you could reference this kind of data, whether you're pro or against the vaccines, or just questioning things in any way, shape, or form, such as myself, because I'm neither pro nor against vaccines. I just like to think for myself. Okay, so here it is once again, distribution of confirmed. So this is where they're showing like it's cases, hospitalization, and deaths. It's all happening in the unvaccinated. That's what they're saying. But are the vaccinated, if you're all vaccinated, vaxxed up, are you really being tested as much? Probably not if you're all vaxxed up and you get your pass. But if you don't, I would suggest you're probably getting a lot more testing. If you're not vaxxed up, you don't get your passport, I would suggest those are the folks that are going to be tested a whole lot more than the vaccinated, right? So that could explain that massive discrepancy, of course. What do we got here? And this is once again showing the that's basically the same numbers, just in a different type of form in chart. Severe illness and outcomes. Daily number of hospital beds and ICU beds occupied by COVID-19 patients as of November 15th, 2021. So once again, we were hearing, how many times have we heard that the reason why they're bringing in these more severe restrictions and mandates, lockdowns, and passports in the fourth wave was because things are so much more severe, and it's the worst wave yet, right? But here you go. There's the waves. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, what I'm looking here is the patients who are mechanically vented. Actually, it looks like it's probably not by a substantial margin, but it looks like it's a little bit lower. Wait a minute. Pretty close, but it's a tiny bit lower in the fourth wave than the first, and definitely lower than the second and third. Patients in ICU, as we can see. Now, it's a little higher than, it looks like it's higher than in the first wave, but definitely lower than the second and lower than the third. Quite a bit lower than the third. But yet this is when they're determining that you have to ramp up all these mandates, restrictions, and the passport. Now even same when you look for hospitalization. Actually, for hospitalized, as you can see, that clearly shows that actually here in wave 4, much lower numbers, but yet we're constantly being told by these experts or these people in the media or the political class that, oh, the hospitals, the patients, the hospitals are filling up, they're being overwhelmed. And that's the excuse they're using for all these mandates, restrictions in the passport and for mandating healthcare workers or for forcing healthcare workers to get vaccinated because of all these patients that are being hospitalized. But apparently it's at a much lower number than the first, second, and third. So once again, these numbers, none of it makes sense unless you take into account that it's a whole bunch of numbers just thrown together and in reality don't amount to a whole lot of shit. Don't amount to a hill of beans unless you break it down properly. And breaking it down properly requires a tremendous amount of effort. And that's not what's taking place. Right now, people just want a nice little snippet, a little 30-second soundbite, or some little chart like this that they can reference, right? So once again, the mandates, even based on government's own statistics, facts, and numbers, it just doesn't make sense. And especially and in particular, just like I go back to this chart for the kids, 0 to 19, 0.1% chance of dying from COVID-19. So do the kids really need to be vaxxed up? I would say not. Some, perhaps. Most, doubtful. Very doubtful. And I would say no. Anyways, let's get back into the chat here, see what everyone's up to. Oh, I see lots of chat going on. Glad to see you folks are enjoying yourself in the chat, talking amongst each other. I'm just looking to see if you got any questions here. And what is fear? What is fear? And what is fear? Fear. Yeah. Well, fear is normal. Irrational fear is not. Let's see what Fuzzy Socks. Nice username. Fuzzy Socks. I wouldn't say it's about feelings per se. It's about psychological warfare. Creating enough fear, and the herd is more than willing to hand over their freedom for safety. Pathetic. That is true, Fuzzy. That is very true. And authoritarians very much know that. That's the thing, folks. They know this. Said you had such a great comment. Let's read another. This was always a pandemic of the mockingbird media and the corrupt globalist governments that want to usher in the Great Reset. Build back better, baby, right? To take away all of our rights. You own nothing and you'll be happy. Yeah. And that's still playing out, folks. Still playing out. See how the next chapter plays out, right? Okay. Ah, Stuart. Hey, what's going on to Stuart here? The Ottawa Senators NHL team was 100% poisoned and 40% tested positive. Wow. That's amazing. So apparently the NHL team, they all vaxxed up, right? And yet 40% of them were testing positive. Well, there you go. Thanks for pointing out that information there, Stuart. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, that's another thing when you're talking about these tests. Like you have all these instant tests that you can take now. Why? Why? You know, when you can have the test, why are you firing all these healthcare professionals? Apparently, it's the thing. If these tests are ineffective or don't work, then what is the point of even having the darn things? Like to me, it's so weird. Just pull them from the shelves if these things don't work. But if they do work, then that's how you protect people. Test them, right? Not saying that everywhere or everyone needs to be tested, but I can see where there might be situations or scenarios or examples or areas in society where that might very well be at least an option, right? At least an option. Like just it's the thing with the authoritarians. Just take a couple deep breaths, step back away from the controls of power, and just use your head. Think about these things. There are ways to get around this stuff. There are ways to help our fellow citizens get through this, right? But you have to be able to include the fact that we need freedom. Without freedom, like I say, this is not going to work out good in any way, shape, or form. Not even for the people who are promoting this stuff. Oh, no notification again, and the bell is rung. Well, I'm sorry to hear that verbal amendment. armament, verbal armament. I really am, and I don't know. That's why I always say you just have to. I don't know. Well, what I do is because I recognize that doesn't that if you follow me on Minds, that's the thing. If you're not a fan of Facebook, which I understand, there's a lot of people that really don't like Facebook, so I understand that. Although I've a decent following on Facebook, so I'm still over there. But I understand if you don't, and if you don't want to go to Facebook, and you do want to get notified when I live stream, if you go to like a site like minds.com or like I'm on Gab, uh, I'm on quite a few. I'm on ThinkSpot, I'm on Locals. If you go to a bunch of these alternative websites and you look to the description in the description of my stream, you'll see the links to them. I always, just like today, before I go live, like this morning when I was setting it up, I even put a post on my Facebook page, on my Minds page, on my Gab page, on and my other pages saying that I was going live at the time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I even give a link. So not only do you know that I'm going live, you can actually click on the link. It'll take you straight to that YouTube video. Now it'll just sit there as you got to wait for it to actually go live, but it'll tell you when it's going live. And you can actually have it sitting there open in the background if you want, or just wait till the time comes and then click on it. But yes, I very much realize that YouTube does not do anything to help promote certain people's content, and I happen to be one of those people, right? Because I go against the political correctness, right? I'm not a politically correct kind of person. I say things that apparently some of the folks at YouTube don't like people saying, so I don't get put in the recommended section. My notifications do seem to be sporadic. So, like I say, to help counter that stuff, the best thing you can do is to look to alternative platforms and like just one of them. And I assure you, you will come across my live stream notifications in some way, form, or fashion. So, thanks for pointing that out. And like I say, I'll make sure that I'll always have some way to notify you folks. And I'm proactive. That's the thing. I'm proactive in making sure that I'm doing my part when I know that the social media platforms aren't. So, but thanks for pointing that out. And maybe others will if you want to see my stream and you're having the same problem this person is, like I say, just go create a Minds account or go to my Facebook page or any of the other social media platforms where you'll see that I have links in the description of the stream and the video, and you'll be able to find my streams. The number, hey, Kato, what's going on, my friend? The number of COVID cases doesn't really matter when most of these people didn't even know they were sick until they were tested. I know, right? I know, right? That is kind of true in a way. I would agree with you there. What's this one here? New Brunswick was one of the provinces named by CSIS as having a CCP infiltration in our politicians. Really? Wow, that sounds quite disturbing. Oh, let me see what Fraser's saying here. Can you see how many Canadians died or were injured from the MR? Hmm, that'd be a statistic I'd like to know as well. And maybe I'll try to look for that stuff, but I probably won't do it during this stream because I'm not sure how quick it would be to find that. But that would be a statistic that I would like to know. How many people are dying, not just from the mRNAs, but even some of the other ones, like the old school type, like the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca. Boy, you don't hear much about AstraZeneca anymore, do you? Wow. Wow. Yeah. Now Pfizer's coming out with a pill. Actually, I think I had a link to that. I believe I did. Um, Maybe I don't have it right here. Yeah, I did have a link, but I must have closed it. But yes, there's a pill coming out, and they're even apparently going to let generic companies um, use it as well. There was something I was reading about that, but yeah, thanks for pointing that out there, Don, Don Hicks. Yeah, Don Hicks. Thanks for pointing that out, man. Yeah, a pill. Just take a pill once a week, once a month. Thanks, but no thanks. Reverend Jim Jones. What's going on, Reverend? True that, Rainy. Therapeutic at best. Probably inject yourself with red vinegar and get same results. I hope that living so close to the Second Amendment will help us. I know, right? I know, right? Yeah, 65% less likely for how long? 1 month? LOL. Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Context matters, right? That's the thing. The media don't want to, most of the hacks in the established media don't want to give you the proper context because they have got an agenda or a narrative to sell. Poison injections are safe and effective. Doesn't work too well. Yeah. Nah, it doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well, right? Feel like I'm living in a Monty Python movie. Yeah, you got that one right. Sacred Shaman, thanks for joining the stream. No dislikes. Nice to see you, CL. Well, that's a good thing. Really appreciate that. That's because there's some great, fine folks like yourself, Stuart, that watch my streams, and that's why I continue to do so, make these streams, and will continue to do so for the great folks like yourself. Like I say, you folks help keep me going in ways you'll never probably fully understand. There was a couple times that I was just about ready to give up entirely, but I just can't. I don't have it within me. It seems to just give up. Right? It's just I don't think I could ever take the blue pill. I just it's like it's just as terrible and as it can be at times when you're properly informed, well informed at least, and thinking critically and objectively about things. It can be really difficult. And I also recognize just how blissful it can be to be ignorant of these things. Because I see the people that are, it's like, darn, there are days where I wish I was back to being blissfully ignorant like you folks. I'd probably have a lot less gray hairs if that was the case, right? But I mean, come on, at the same time, somebody's got to, pick up that heavy load, carry that burden of countering the corrupt establishment and these authoritarians. Somebody's got to do it. And you know what? Seeing as how I have the courage, I have the conviction, and I seem to have the ability to do a half decent job at it, why not? Why not? Right? Why leave that on the table? I don't want to, when I know when I'm taking my last breath on this earth, well, in addition to obviously, being hopefully surrounded by family and friends and loved ones. Another thing is I want to know in my mind that I not only have I done good for myself, my family, my loved ones, and my community, but I want to know that I've done the right thing in these very trying times, in these very divisive times. I want to know, I want to be able to rest in peace genuinely. And the only way I believe that I'll be able to rest in peace is knowing that I stood up in an attempt to try to do the right thing and to say the right things and to at least pique people's curiosities and inquisitive natures to start questioning some of this stuff. Because even if I only help 1, 10, 1,000, or 1,000,000 people, what matters at the end of the day that I at least tried and gave it a valiant effort. That's why I sleep well at night. That's why I get along great with the people that I do get along great with. And most people that ever meet me, I do get along great with them. Why? Because I don't look to impose myself. But at the same time, I'm willing to bring facts and truth to the table, even if it may cause you some cognitive dissonance. Why? Because I know how important it is. Truth matters. And I will not subject myself or any of you folks to a bunch of lies, deception, or bullshit uh, narratives just to feel like I'm part of a group. No, I hold myself to a high standard and I seek to do that for others as well. And that's what truly raises and elevates all boats, right? That is what helps us all. Not racing down to the lowest common denominator. That's defeatist and a detriment to us all. Thank you very much, Lenny Allen. Actually, you know what? I might as well get ready to tie this stream up. It is at an hour and 49. My goodness, it went by quick. These 2 hours went by quick. Really appreciate it. And like I say, I'm going to be doing another stream, probably going to do another one with my son. And I'm looking to reach out. If any of you folks would like to come on and do a live stream with me, I love having guests. I really love having guests. And I'm seriously thinking about reaching out to Tim Mullen after watching that video, his video, like I say, on the Liberties Exports. Expert, his YouTube channel, Tim Owen, Liberty Experts. Really looking to reach out to him and talk to him about that conversation he had, and maybe he can give me some pointers to help me try to entice some people to join me, some pro-vaxxers or pro-mandate folks to join me and have a conversation, because I firmly believe that if they're willing to engage in dialogue and have a conversation, that we can find some way to come together and at least agree to leave each other the hell alone and stop trying to impose each other's wills or preference on each other. Can we find a way to try to get along in some manner to keep society at least relatively cohesive and relatively peaceful? I know I'm not no utopian. I don't think we're ever going to be a-okay perfectly, but can we at least strive to do better, much, much better than we are now? I know you folks are, and I'm sure you're doing it in your own personal life, and I appreciate everything you folks do, and I'm going to continue to do the same. So have a great night, everyone. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in the next live stream. And remember, I'm going to have all that information linked in the description of the stream. So if you need to share it with others who need to learn this information, it's going to be there. It's Canadian Libertarian. Oh, wait. Sorry. Thank you, Fraser McBurney. I really appreciate the donation once again. You're doing the right thing. Keep going. Like these people like Fighting Hate 101 on YouTube and Jason Cosmic on BitChute. Right on. Well, I'll definitely check out Jason Cosmic, I believe. Is that the one? Fighting Hate. Like these people like Fighting Hate on YouTube. Like Fighting Hate 101 on YouTube. Jason Cosmic on BitChute. Well, thanks. Like I said, Fraser McBurney, I really appreciate that. And your vote of confidence in me and your generous support. It really does. It humbles me, and it makes me feel good to know that there are people like yourself out there. So thank you once again. Have a great weekend. And I'll be back again with another live stream as it pertains to not just COVID, but anything and everything as it pertains to liberty. It's Canadian Libertarian.